Where is the music? Need to hit the music.
There's quite a few of them, yeah. So
I found it. Hi, everyone. We're back.
We're only strangers till we realize this life is temporary. An illusion we must fight. Open up your eyes. We're gonna be alright.
West Tigers faithful, we are back. Well, we were back last week, but we had some pretty severe technical difficulties, and an hour and 40-minute episode went to shit. So I guess the title of the episode is "Sorry We're Late." Episode number 52. Joe McCord is with me. Hi, Joe.
oh hey on mate. Yeah, I'm pretty happy about that though. I was not at my best last week, and I still have residual cringe from that 6-7 joke that I made at the start of the episode too. I've been like replaying that back in my mind all week.
Well, the best thing is that ultimately that can be forgotten. I was going to ask you if you thought that the conventions of 6-7 were dead, like my half brother asked me a couple of weeks ago, but I'm not going to go there. Mate,
I have lots of opinions on that, so you don't want to go down that. You don't want to open that can of worms, yeah.
maybe it's best we don't do that. So just to catch everybody up, obviously, so we told everybody, well, we meant to tell you all what we all got up to on our holidays. I bought a house and I worked on my arse groove because I was exhausted for the entire period after moving house. Mac went fishing. That's pretty much what happened there. In West Tigers land, obviously, Sean Millercamp is the CEO for at least 12 months. Next 12 months, he's talking about collective strength, as per the great man Charles, and he wants to produce the best pathway system in the world. So best of luck with that, Sean. We'll be watching very, very close. I don't think there's much left to say in regards to that. And there's a new Holman Barnes Group board that's coming. I don't really have anything to say about it. I think everybody understands the passion and the and the assertiveness that we had towards a certain situation, and everybody knows Max seeking as well. We're not going to bother with that. So let's talk recruitment straight away. We've had it's like 12 days of deals, except it's 2 days of deals, and they're both front rowers. The first one is Sione Fainu. I believe it is a 3-year deal. I believe the money comes in at about $365K per year. Mac, you're going to have to say exactly what you said last time, but I think that's fair value and a tick for that man that we just spoke about before, Sean Millercamp. Good deal.
Yeah, I can probably succinctly say what I said last time that I've probably prattled on about. Very good deal for the Tigers. I think Sione Fainu comes a little cheap because we're probably gonna, not in the not too distant future, have to pay his brother. I will leave it ambiguous which one I mean. A fair bit over market value to keep him. That's my assumption anyway.
Which one are you talking about?
The good one. Nah, Samuela. I'm talking about Samuela, man.
Yeah, I think he is the good one at the moment.
Well, he's definitely the one that's the most proven, the one that can stay on the field the most. And, I know halves are a hot commodity in the NRL, but so are Samuela Fainu quality edge forwards that are young and have as many games under their belt as he does.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think there's still work for him to do defensively, although he was defending out of position last year. But there's some great signs there. From the moment he debuted, he looked like he belonged in first grade, and he's just continued to improve. There's been moments where he has just completely stood up against blokes bigger than him and more imposing forward packs apparently, and he's done away with them. I will never forget him and Fanua Bole going tit for tat as we marched down the field against Cronulla. Before Dewey kicked that penalty goal. That was phenomenal and befitting of the player that he is. He also dog-walked Jack Jashevsky. Although that's a pretty fucking easy thing to do. I reckon I could do that.
Yeah, I reckon you could too.
Yeah, respectfully to Jack.
I've seen you play. You go good.
I rung him
Okay,
up.
good.
I look like a baby giraffe. Somebody who looks like a upright horse is Alex Twal.
Yeah,
He
he is upright. Yeah, good segue.
the Mediterranean stallion, that man. 3-year deal as well. I heard this by the great man Ryan, all things West Tigers, 400K a year. I think that's really fair value for a bloke that's about to come into his prime years. And what I really like, mate, is the fact that they have gone. You look at all the guys that are coming off on November 1, and I don't want to make our wonderful listeners panic, but the Mays are off contract, Samuela and Lance are off contract, Hiyamasi Makasini, Fanua Borlaire, and Adam Dewey are all off contract. Sunia Turuva as well. So there's a lot of good quality players there. At least I think they
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
For them to re-sign 12 for mine looks a little bit like, look, we're going to reward loyalty. Loyalty's a two-way street. This man's stuck with us through thick and thin. We're going to look after him, make sure he's a one-club player. Is that? Am I right in thinking that?
I mean, there's two schools of thought. Alex Twal, I wouldn't begrudge somebody for finding it difficult to get too excited. I don't think anybody's going to, on the flip side, be too upset. So it's like not something that you want to. It's not something like media worthy to any great extent. But secretly low key, I'm pretty sure Alex Twal is the main culture guy in the team. Like I think Alex Twal kind of is kind of the the beating heart of the team, and he kind of mixes in with everybody and everybody loves him. He's the butt of the jokes. He keeps morale up. He's got charisma in a weird way. So, we talk a bit about the what do they call it? The I forget. He's like the team guy. He's like that's Alex Twal for us. And as to your point about being a one club player, it's been one hell of a long time since we've had a player retire at the West Tigers that started at the West Tigers that didn't retire because they just they just became shit in their early 20s. One that's actually played out an entire formidable career. So I do hope Alex Twal is the next one that does do that. It would be awesome. And he was very close to leaving at one point too. So no,
Yeah.
I like Alex Twal. I'm an Alex Twal fan. I think he's an underrated player. So I'm fine. I'm happy.
I'm with you, and I think that there was enough signs last year that he's not the one-dimensional
He's not.
urchin that people thought that he was. Look, 3 or 4 years ago, that's a completely accurate take. But this is a guy now that really leads by example with his line speed and his communication and his desire to try and shift momentum. He cuts the ball into the line as opposed to meandering. He's developed a pass. He's developed an offload. Is he going to be a Naufahu White? No, of course not. He's never going to be an enforcing attack dog that puts the team on his back and makes it personal with his opposite. But he sure as hell will not let you down. And whether you like it or not, he's an integral part of this side because he's the glue defensively. Just because he doesn't do, the amazing things or scores tries or whatever, doesn't mean that he's less of a first grader than any of the other blokes. So I'm really happy with this one, and I agree with your sentiments. He's a really big part of the culture that they're trying to build, and away from Jerome, Uppy, Tito, and those sorts of guys, he's a big part of it, and he's a big part of that group too. I don't think he was really tied to anyone besides Adam Dewey, and even in later years, Ryan Madison. I don't think he was really close to anyone else. So for him to be a part of that group, you see him, munching on Portuguese burgers after games on a Saturday night in Brisbane, with all the boys. I think that's pretty cool. So happy for
We
Alex.
certainly get a lot less coverage on the Fox footy without him. He's become a bit of a star on.
I hear it. No, well, congratulations to Alex and his family. And again, well done, Sean Millercamp. It's a good one, and it sends a really strong message. Now, Jack Bird, there's not really much else to say except the fact that I think that his sign still delivered to the Leeds Rhinos. We're just waiting for it to happen. I don't have much else to say on Jack. It's disappointing the way that it's gone, but unfortunately, this is the game, and it was last chance saloon for him, as we've spoken about many times, and turns out it was. So farewell, Jack. But I guess the main thing to discuss here is that my Jareen Buller info, which I've given a little bit about in bits and pieces, but it's probably best that I come reasonably clean with it. I have been told, and obviously things can change, and and these situations are always live until things are made official. But I've been told that Jareen Buller has agreed to terms on a 3-year deal, average of about $950,000. And the reason that the deal has not been made official as yet is because he's getting a top up via Jack Bird's contract. So whatever is left, so I think we are, I think, 3 months, 4 months into the NRL financial year, he'll get a fair amount of what is left on Jack Bird's salary. So 8 months, so a third of his deal. And there'll be a decent amount of cash there to go to Jareen Buller. We had this conversation again last week. We're going to preface it, but Mac, we're going to have to say it again, a little bit more refined. 950K is put the team on your back money. That is, give me the fucking ball and I'll win you the game money. That is, I am going to bring back my defensive cleanup work from 2023 money, and I'm going to score tries and I'm going to save them and I'm going to put you on my back and I'm going to fucking win you a premiership money. Do you agree with me?
Yeah, like Jareen Buller, the thing for me is that he looked like he'd gone to another level during the international season. Like he looked like a real star in that arena. So, we'll see. It is obviously, as you say, like, he has to repay the faith now, provided what you're saying does come to fruition. But if you look at the trial team list that got named this weekend, we actually suddenly have quite a bit of depth that seems to be starting to push its nose through into the first grade reckonings, more than I would have thought would get named in the trial. Anyway, there's like 4 quality like young fullbacks there now.
There is, and we're going to talk about that in one moment, except I just have to plug the fact that we are back for season 2026, and we don't have any sponsors, so if you want to sponsor us, that'd be great. But in the meantime, we're going to go through the grassroots stuff as we always do. Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, subscribe, like, rate, comment, interact with us. As you can tell, this is pre-recorded.
Facebook. That's where we pop off the most. We in the off season we tipped 1,000 followers on Facebook, Jared.
That's impressive, bro. I didn't know that. But Facebook, Insta, TikTok, X, that's where I do most of my shit posting work because Mac's got all the other fucking passwords. For the love of God, please come join us. Ask us questions everywhere, whether it be subthreads on the forums or on any one of those social medias, in our YouTube comments, everywhere.
If you want access to our secret savage Discord, you can ask, and then we'll vet you.
Yes, it's a very exclusive group. Think Hello Sport with the baggy greens. So it's good to be back, season 2026. And with that in mind, we have a first team list Tuesday of the year. Now, we'll talk, obviously, pathways. We like to think it's our bread and butter. We'll run you through a lot of our players in a little bit. I'll give you the team list, but I first of all want to talk about what this means for the first grade side, because this is very, very clearly a cup side. And Benji's retired everybody to the stable for a week that he thinks is going to be playing first grade. Fullback Luke great start. Fullback Heath Mason, wingers Luke Laulii and Falatino Tavana. The centers are Hiamasi Makasini and Patrick Herbert. The halves are Javon Andrews and one captain, Jock Madden. The front row is Kit Laulii, Tristan Hope, the other co-captain, and Sione Fainu. The back row, Tony Suka, Phoenix Godinay, and Charlie Murray. Jerseys 14 to 17 are as follows: Jared Haywood, Jack Addard, Solomona Sakuru, and Christian Torpau-Moores. And then finally, jerseys 18 to 26 are the following: Max Tautua, Siatame Havea Jr., Lachlan Broadalow, Luke Jack, Iverson Matai, Logan Janinja, also known as Logan Brooks, Mitch Tautua, Josesi Lanyon, and William Craig. Very, very big side. Very, very big side. I think that's actually the most you can name on a preseason challenge extended bench. But I want to talk about who's not there because I think that gives us some indications on where Benji's head's at. And the first thing is that, despite the fact that Luke Laulii was trotted out on the left wing at the open training session, despite the fact that he and Marcy Makasini was apparently in a 2-horse race, both of those blokes are playing this week. The man who is not is Jarrell Skelton, which makes me think that he's got first crack at left wing for the first grade side. Do you think that's the right decision, Mac?
Yeah.
Agreed. I think that he had a wonderful start of the season and then had some injury woes and then ended it pretty well up until he had another injury at the back end of the year. Well, it was a
And also,
concussion,
he's
actually.
here next year.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, no, he's actually off contract.
Oh, does he have contract? Okay, forget that.
Yeah, it's
But
Ricky for
Luke's
Skelly.
not. We know that for sure. So, we did talk about this briefly last week, and I did make the point. It's like, if Luke Laulii is, on trajectory that he, and he's coming to his own this season, but it is a thing. It's a thing. He's not going to be here next year. So, I think Jarrell Skelton, I certainly don't think Jarrell Skelton at any point throughout the year played himself out of the jersey. Like, he performed really well almost every game. Like, he was a good performer for us last year. So, yeah, reward that. And he's also still, I know he's in his mid-20s, but he's still relatively inexperienced. So there's a lot of improvement to come in Jarrell Skelton still.
I hear you. Yeah, he's only really had one full year where he's been the guy in first grade with us. At the Dogs, he was in and out in first grade pretty often. He got that qualifying final when they played Manly and bundled out of the finals, which was a great experience for him, I think. But other than that, he's either been in State Cup or been playing another code. So I agree. There's a lot left to give there. And, he's a guy that you do not want to run into on a dark night because holy shit, he can hit hard. Like, you saw it with Tom Trebojevic on that dreary night at Brookvale at 6:00. Like, he has that in him. And, he and Marcy has it in him too. But I'm also glad that we're not rushing him. It's not an immediate thing, and it's going to be a slow burn. And might not actually be Jarrell that sort of lets go. It might actually be Stafford Toe with this troublesome elbow that sees he and Marcy come into the side.
Do you think Jarrell Skelton is in the top 5 hardest hitters in the NRL?
It's a great question.
He features on the big hits highlight reels pretty damn regularly.
He can definitely do those at speed collisions. Those very, very good pick your moments outside back
ambushing,
style
man.
Hits. Like shades of Steve Maddai.
Yeah.
I'd have to have a think and come back to you. I really would. I spoke about him a little bit earlier, but guys like, Nafahu White and Mitch Barnett and, these sorts of guys through the middle are the ones that I typically associate with being, hitmen. But it's a good question. It's a good point you make. It's a good point.
I still would love to see Skelton just once in the back row. Because I'd just love to see him do that, line up an ambush hit like a half or something, and just because on the wing, he's hitting, smaller men, but he's also it's not as effective, it's not as impactful. If you're doing it from the back row, you're causing turnovers and shutting down attacking movements more often. So I don't know. I'd like to see it. I think he's got all the makings of a good back row, but I don't know, it doesn't look like anybody else agrees with me these days.
Well, funnily enough, mate, I think some people might agree with you. On the Bloke in the Bar podcast, where they were doing their 6-hour marathon season preview for every team, go and watch it if you want to get your footy fix early. They actually mentioned this 6-man bench actually opens opportunities for guys like Jarrell Skelton to come in and do the Talakai stint, where you come off the bench, play a bit of centre, you play a bit of back row, you wreak havoc for 20 minutes, you tackle everything that moves above the shoulders, and you sort of try and, wrestle back momentum. We're going to talk about how we think we might structure a 6-man bench under the new rules in a little bit with the players that we have at our disposal. But, yeah, mate, I kind of shut you down last year, but now that, you've got a few more blokes on the bench, I don't hate it. I actually think it's a really good idea. But obviously at the same time, it looks like he's in the box seat to play left wing. So It
Yeah.
might be one sort of round 10 onwards where they carry him in sort of jersey 18, 19, and he does do something like that because he came into open age rugby league as a centre. So it's not like he can't play there. It's just obviously he's better suited to the wing. But on an edge, you never know. It's
He's big.
that's
He's
right.
plenty big enough.
It's a start. So we'll see. Sione Fainu, who we spoke about earlier, that signed that 3-year deal, he's starting in the front row. And again, who is missing? Royce Hunt, and you can play devil's advocate that he's playing all stars, but I think that he will be playing first grade. Bunty R5, we've heard about him all year. Now, apparently, he played the reserve grade trial and played back row, according to the great black white goal, but nonetheless, not there this week. Maybe they saw everything they needed to see. And that other man, that extremely loved player amongst West Tigers fans, Alex Seaforth, he's not there either. So, to me, I would assume, unless he pops up in, again, jersey 18, 19 on this six-man bench, that Sione Fainu was probably going to start the year in reserve grade. Now, while I don't agree with it, I just simply want to ask the question, is Benji Marshall simply looking for experience that he will get in Royce Hunt, Bunty Arfoa, to a lesser extent Alex Seafarth, over a guy like Sione? And is he prioritising defence? Is he front-loading our energy and our effort into our defence, and he basically doesn't want have any chinks in the armour? Is that what's going on here? Do you think?
Yeah, it must be defense, I reckon. Because that's definitely what Bunty Afoa provides over Sione. We've talked at length about that being the hole in Sione's game. I'm not sure. Are there 19 players that weren't named? Because with the 6-man bench, there might be a couple of spots in the 19-man squad that come out of this trial still. It might not be 100% Reggie's. I'm not sure. I haven't done the maths, but just Bunty and Royce missing would only account for jersey 15, 16, wouldn't it? I think jersey 18, 19 might be playing this weekend still, to be honest.
I'm counting now. 12, 13,
Sorry
14.
to put you on the spot, but yeah, I kind of don't see 19 players missing.
There's not 19 players missing. It looks like there's about 16 missing, and that's
Yeah,
not
so
including.
we're looking at
It's not including Ethan Rogers, Maverick Geyer, etc. So
yeah. So we're looking at 3 players from this team named probably going to be in the 19 round 1.
yeah, bit of an audition for those boys. We've heard through the week, mainly from Jerome Law at the season launch and in other places, that Adam Doueihi will start the season at 7. But from what I've seen, he seems to be intimating that is the plan for now, implying that at some point there may be a change that it is enacted and it will likely involve Latu Fainu. That basically, verbatim, Luai said something to the rugby league guru along the lines of, yeah, right now that's what Benji wants to go with, implying that maybe there's something coming. I think that, Doueihi is a steady hand. He allows us to, really settle in and play high percentage footy at the beginning of the year, which is exactly what we need. Kick us out of trouble and those sorts of things, and then sort of see it as it evolves. But I'm not 100% sure. And obviously the way that Latu is utilised at the beginning of the year will also give you a bit of a window into what they plan to do. Because if he gets reps at 9 and 13 and not at 6, then how's he going to hit the ground running? I remember the Dogs did a similar thing in 24 with Sexton playing grade for about the first 3 months of the year. Drew Hutchison, one of the great blokes from one of the mad rooters, Screw Slutchison, was playing halfback there for a little while, and then they eventually switched out, and then the Dogs went on that unreal run on the way to the finals. I could see that happening, but I'm not really sure. But even still, you've been an advocate of Adam Doueihi at 7 for so long. You've gotten your wish. Talk to me about how you think that that will manifest into style of play.
Adam Doueihi's a little bit more off the cuff than people think. I feel like that the idea is Adam guides the team around and lets Jerome Luai kind of play a bit more eyes up. But I don't think Adam Doueihi's ever really given anyone any indication that he's a game manager either. He likes to run. You know, he thinks he's a creative genius. Like when we didn't have him playing in the halves, he was like, I want in the halves, I want the ball, not because he wants to be a game manager, but he wants to affect play. So I don't know. I mean, and I don't mind that. I think I said multiple times last year that, like, you know, the reason that Jerome Luai was not super effective at 7 is because when he tries to game manage, it blunts his effectiveness at, like, creating those, like, playmaking opportunities. And, like, you could see that manifest, right? Like, he wasn't doing try assists, he wasn't doing, like, scoring tries himself. I think Adam Dewey, while he's not the equal of Jerome Luai, is probably a little bit more double-edged at least. So, like, providing some creativity off both 6 and 7, and Adam Dewey's probably going to be less affected by game management duties because the way he likes to affect the game as a playmaker is more simple, and it is a little bit more predictable. And if it doesn't come off, it doesn't cause, you know, dissonance in the next play the ball so much, because what he'll do is he'll, like, you know, take a hit up where they had a backline play up, like, you know, set up or something. I'll kick the ball early or something like that. Whereas
Yeah.
Luai's idea is he'll spin it back the other direction and try to, like, catch everybody out, including his own players.
Yeah.
So no, I think it's a fantastic move. Like, I just think it's a good move because of the experience and the maturity. I think that, like, if the idea is Jerome Luai has to be able to play a little bit more off the ball, then by putting Latu Fainu into the 7, you're putting a lot of pressure on Latu Fainu to game manage, and that's not really his bag either. You know what I mean? And I think the key that kind of probably puts Dewey over the edge is the general kicking. He's got a bigger boot. He's capable of a 40-20. He's going to kick us out of our end better. His bombs are a problem, and he can kick field goals. And he's also the goal kicker. So, you know, you like, and he's and I mean, like we would be at the start of last season when we had Galvin, we kind of were forced to put Dewey into the back line because we needed the goal kicking, right? So that's also a thing. So I think one thing I do want to I wouldn't call it a prediction, but I wouldn't exactly be surprised if Javon Andrews ends up actually, like, in the first grade 19 pretty early in the season, based on what I've seen of him, primarily because if you add him to the mix in the halves, he's actually a little bit more of a game manager than any of them. Like, he plays a bit more of a game manager role, like, and he has a big boot and he is a goal kicker too, right? So, like, as a facsimile to Dewey, like, let's say Dewey doesn't work out or he gets injured, like, Javon Andrews is going to probably be able to play whatever role they build Dewey to play better than Latu would. So, and I actually think Javon Andrews played really well on the weekend too. So I'm a little bit bullish on Javon. I'd be buying those stocks personally.
I would be too. I just
He's
want to go
big
back.
too.
Yeah,
Big lad, 98 kilos.
he's a big man, but there's a lot to like there. And there was a really good write-up from him on him in Fox Sports. Talks about his spine
Yes.
injury. One of the background info just sounds like you listen to the YouTube short that we did midway through last season, but nonetheless, that's all right. Look,
You heard it here first, eh?
on Dewey, I just think he's more than happy to put away the, sort of the give me the ball, give me the ball, give me the ball in good ball. But I think he will happily shift the ball to Luai when Luai calls for it. Because I think that what you'll
Yeah.
see this is that, like, the percentage of touches, it might be 65-35 Dewey's way, right? And that now with the pressure off Jerome and with this new role and, being Robin or whatever the fuck he is calling himself at the moment, that realistically he will wait until he sees something. When there's an overlap or there's a cue in the defensive line that he sees, he'll call for the ball, he'll get it. And hopefully he creates points. By the end of the year, I think that was what was beginning to happen with Dewey next to him. Dewey, as you said, is a long boot, but he also likes being that guy. He likes directing the side around. He likes, letting them know what, where we're getting to and what point on the field in terms of off a penalty. You'll see him screaming instructions, whether it's left post, right post, tram line, etc. and he can get the boys there to where he needs them to be. At this point, in terms of being the full game, in terms of being a halfback and the defensive game as well, he's the best guy for it. Jock Madden is the best pure halfback at the club, but he can't tackle. So what that means is that realistically, you need to look for someone who's going to do what you need on both sides of the ball. I think that that's what Dewey is. In terms of how we're going to play this year, I think that, the blueprint was there against probably the Dogs and Manly. This really, stay in the contest, and, grind teams down as best as you can. But also, I really do think that the new rules are going to suit us. These boys have been running triple Broncos, which are 1.2 with timelines back to back to back. They've been doing a lot of conditioning work. They weren't afraid to offload. Most offloads in the league last year. And they're never afraid of trancing their arms. You throw a guy like Kai Pearce-Paul down that right edge, and a touch wood, a fully fit Staff and Tower, at least that can fend outwards. I don't think he can do it frontwards anymore. And Adam Dewey on that right edge, and suddenly there's enough there to play with. So exciting times, and I guess we'll see. But I agree. I wouldn't be against seeing Javon on that 6-man bench, but I'll be curious to see how long it takes, considering he only has the solitary game of Queensland Cup. I know that Benji's always happy to play a bloke if he thinks he's ready, but we'll see. But 6-man bench, it's come in now. Very, very interesting. From my perspective, I think that in terms of what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing, the right-on side will be Buller at the back, Taruva and Skelton the wings, Toa and Taylor May the centres. I'm hearing incredible things about Taylor May, must be said. He's blowing them away at the moment. Luai and Dewey, who we just spoke about in the halves. The front row, I think, will be a mix of May, Twal and Bolle. They'll line up 8, 10, 13. Appy will be at hooker. The back row is Sam Weller and Kai Pearce-Paul. And then the bench is a bit of an interesting one. So I think they've got Latu at 14. I think it'll be Royce and Bunty as the middle forwards on the bench. Seafarth, jersey 17. Again, I don't agree with it, but I think it'll happen. Jersey 18, 19 are particularly interesting, and the development argument is absolutely valid. But I do think that Masi Makasini will be jersey 19. I think that he's been getting reps at left wing, left centre, right centre. And he's also been getting some time at fullback as well. So I think they are grooming him for the anything can happen role. And I think eventually he'll put his stamp on a game and they won't be able to not pick him. And I think the jersey 19 people are going to groan when they hear it, but I think it will be Heath Mason. I'll be pretty surprised if it isn't. Where's your head at with this whole fucking 6-man bench thing?
I think you were right about most of what you said. I'd be surprised if jersey 18 and 19 aren't really rotated a lot throughout the year. I think that, and I don't think it'll be for tactical reasons. I think it'll be mostly because for the first year, at least, I don't see too many of the teams, and I don't see ours, really experimenting with deviating away from the existing rotations that they've kind of been used to until they sort of start to see what sort of impact having a 6-man bench has. It'll be more like, a less bureaucratic way to get an emergency sub on in the event of an injury, or if you need a reshuffle or this and that and the other. I think that the preference will go to generally like a utility style player, probably a utility style back and a utility style forward would be my guess.
Agreed.
I'm probably more likely to think that you're probably going to see Sione Fainu in one of the jerseys, to be honest, because he can play back row 13 and front row. I wouldn't be surprised if Tristan Hope ends up in the jersey quite often. I know he's high in the pecking order. He's a second drop dummy half now. Which I guess, I think Jared Hayward's also kind of actually in the mix there, depending on how he performs. He's looked real good in the preseason so far, and he's very talented too. So, if Jared Hayward, jumps Tristan Hope, then Jared Hayward might end up in that jersey. Javon Andrews might end up in that jersey. I do think Marcy will be almost the mainstay in the 18. I think you're on the money there. And maybe so much so that Marcy might actually play more from that position than like the 19, and the 19 might be more of the doesn't get minutes most of the time, 5 minutes at the end of the game, sometimes emergency sub type utilization. So yeah, they've got lots and lots of options. One thing I maybe don't agree with is I don't think Heath Mason has his clutches on that jersey. I would say all the aforementioned names, Makasini, Hope, Sione Fainu, would be more likely to feature than Mason, maybe then Mason. So that's sort of how I view it. But again, it depends on how willing to, play with the new opportunity that's presented itself Benji is. Because if Benji wants to be a forerunner to trying to actually figure out how a six-man bench might better impact a game, then he might actually, run six players into the rotation consistently, as a way to kind of try to find an advantage that other teams might not have, or he might err on the side of conservative. So far in his career, he hasn't really shown a propensity to kind of do much outside of the norm. So I'm kind of leaning towards the latter. So long-winded way of saying I agree. Marcy's 18. I would be surprised if 19 is not Sione Fainu. That's kind of what I think is going to happen.
Yeah, it's. I'm curious. I think it's probably guys that are at the end of their development curve that will get a lot of time. Tristan Hope, you mentioned. Jock Madden may well be that guy as well. Now that I sort of think about it, he's probably the finished article. Those sorts of guys are probably ones that I sort of see getting a lot of game time. But yeah, I agree with you. It has to be a revolving door for the sake of junior development. What I will say though is that I think you can only choose 4 from your bench of 6. So it's similar to soccer in the sense of you have X amount on the bench and you only have X amount of subs. So I'm not absolutely certain, because I agree with you. I would love to see the tactical thing in the sense of you get a low percentage guy, right? Let's say hypothetically, we spoke about Skelton before, and you're down by 14 at half time and you need something that's going to change momentum. You throw Royce and Skelton on and you go 1-2 punch, and then maybe a guy. And then you get a guy like Tristan Hope out of 9, and maybe that opens it up enough, But it's going to be really interesting, and I agree with you. Benji's going to look. We said it a few times last year. Benji's bench rotations were pretty fucking poor. I remember on Easter Monday, he just refused. I think it was Tony Suka sat on the bench all day and just didn't get off the pine. There's times where, and I think that you will see him most likely only use 2 or 3 blokes and then wait until the last 15 to make a decision on who he rolls out as the 4th. That would not surprise me in the slightest. But that's somewhere that I picked up, was somewhere that he really needed to improve, and I'm hopeful that he has, and that this encourages a sense of dynamism, because we're going to fucking need it realistically.
And let's be realistic, Jared. Like at some point within the first few rounds, injuries will hit. And so, this whole question is almost just academic and focused on just round 1, right? I also wouldn't be surprised if, like, by the time all the trials are said and done, that they've made a decision and they go, you know what, actually, here Marcy Marcassini should be in the starting squad. And if here Marcy Marcassini is in the starting squad, then Jarrell Skelton will wear number 18 every week, like every week. So it's there's so many different permutations. It's all just reading the tea leaves at this point.
Absolutely. I'll run through a few of these blokes in this trial list that I think are worth looking at, and I'll throw to you for a couple as well. I will precursor this. Our great friend NBWT, Nothing But West Tigers on X, has done a thread of the players that you may not have heard about. And he's cut together.
Unless you listen to this podcast, then you would have.
So go look there, and then you'll be able to see some of what we're talking about, because we don't have time to cut together tape anymore, unfortunately. But nonetheless, in terms of guys on the tip sheet, here, Marcy Marcassini, we spoke about him a few times. I was told at the beginning of the preseason, his numbers were off the charts, and you can see it in the photos. He has worked his ass off this summer, and I think that he will put his best foot forward on Saturday night. I think that he'll have Junior Pauga former West Tigers great and dropout enthusiast Junior Pauga. He'll be lining up him. So that'll be interesting. Patrick Herbert, he returns, plays his first open grade game, NRL affiliated open grade game in about 3 years. He was working an excavator down in the Gong when he got a random call. He said, "Who the fuck's this?" And it was one of our recruitment staff. He's made good. He's come through out the other side. He's trained with the first grade squad all summer. Some blokes like Luke Jack and others only did one session or did sort of November to the end of December. Paddy's been there the entire time. Really hopeful that he puts his best foot forward. Don't know what the future holds for him, but really exciting. And there's a great little write-up on the ABC by the greatest rugby league writer there is in the country, Nick Campton. Go and have a look at her. Finally, Tino Tavana, you've interviewed him, Mac. You can talk about Tina.
Yeah, man. Like he's the X factor in the pathways, isn't he? He's the guy that's capable of just about anything. He's been likened to Jareem Buller in that respect. He's capable of aerial feats. He's a goal kicker. He's not the fastest, but fast enough. Agile as all get out. Can play fullback. Can play wing. Think he can probably play center, but he's a little bit small. He's a bit light. He's a little bit short, but all athlete. And a real good kid. I'm stoked to see him named in the back five here. I reckon we'll see him play NRL this year. I reckon at a certain point when they're short on troops or something like that, we'll see Tino get a run. He's gonna be really good in New South Wales Cup. He's a good player. I'm not sure how high his ceiling really is because of his physical attributes, like because of the fact, like, but you know what? At the end of the day, he scores a lot of tries. He does a lot of crazy stuff nobody else can do. Not just like, running the ball, but passing too. Like he's got great feel for the game. No, great. Yeah, really happy to see him in the squad. I'm also, I feel like, not to cut your grass a little bit here, but Phoenix Godinez being named at 12 ahead of Solomon Esaukuru is interesting. Solomon Esaukuru is obviously a top 30 player, so Phoenix being named ahead of him means Phoenix is doing the right things in the off season. And the other back row is Tony Sukkar, who's featured a ton in the NRL side. So this is a really good opportunity for Phoenix to like put his name out there. And Phoenix is a fantastic player, one of your draft picks. And I think I predicted towards the end of last year that I think Phoenix might be a smoky for round one, and that was before the 6-man bench got announced. Now that there's a 6-man bench announced, Phoenix can play center and back row. He's an interesting utility type. You know what I mean? Like it's not a common, like really wide edge running back row, right? Like, and just such a professional for his age. And if he goes out there on the weekend and he just like has a blinder and Tony Sukkar has a tepid performance, like Phoenix Godinez is gonna jump Tony Sukkar in the pecking order, and he's gonna start. And then in the next week in the trial, when the NRL players are named, he'll be there too. And if he performs well in that game, then who knows what happens by the end of this preseason. Jared Hayward at 14 is obviously really, really intriguing. I think he's a future NRL player. We've got some seriously good young players in this team this weekend. It's such an important game to watch if you're interested in pathways. So many Oz Schoolboys representatives. Jack Attard, first time anybody will get a chance to see him. He played so well in that New South Wales Cup trial. But so did my man Logan Brooks. He played great. Played in the first half on the wing, and then in the second half at fullback. And they were super similar. Attard and Brooks, it was like they had very similar styles, very similar speed, very similar threats. Very hard to get put down by the first man. They're both very, very good. And it's exciting because they're going to push each other to put their hand up to be that next man up, so. And I know Brooks is off contract this year with the Tigers. I'm glad that he's still with us, but yes, I'm super excited. This is like the This is the grand final for pathways enthusiasts, isn't it? When you look at some of these names.
A little bit, a little bit. A couple others that I sort of want to talk about that you didn't sort of touch on. Solomon Asaukuru, it is, you mentioned him before when you said that Phoenix had leapfrogged him, and that's absolutely true. This is last chance for saloon for Solomon at the Tigers. He's been on a top 30 deal for the last couple of years. He looked really good in flag last year and was an amazing attacking weapon on that left edge once they finally moved him in from left centre. But it's time for him to really show his worth now. It's really make or break. Christian Torpau-Moores, I think there's still another growth spurt in that fella, and
He's huge.
yeah, he's a big boy, but I think he's going to be even bigger when the time comes. I'm really excited to see how he goes. I hope he gets some minutes taken on blokes like Lazalu, and how he sort of takes to that. The Tautua twins, both big and aggressive. Max is a centre/wing. Mitch is a back rower, typically on the left edge. I'm excited to see those boys. They were earmarked as first graders for sure at Manly until they came over to West around the time that Scott Fulton was here. I've got some high hopes for Max. I think he was our best player last year, pound for pound, consistently in our Jersey flag side. I'm a big fan of him. Luke Jack, he's been around the place for a little while, former Queensland under-19s representative. He trained through the summer.
Schoolboy.
Yeah, trained through the summer, like I said. Club seems to like him. I'm interested to see how he goes. Iverson Matai, he was sensational in that cup trial. Holy shit. We'll talk about it a
Luke
little
Jack
bit.
hits hard, Brady. He whacks, bro. He's like, don't underestimate Luke Jack. He's the sort of player coaches fall in love with and like ends up like, where'd this bloke come from? Like you see those sort of blokes at clubs. He's a bit like a Ray Stone, Sam McIntyre kind of like prototype kind of bloke.
Yeah, with you there, bro. Broadalow, similar to South Korea. He's on a development contract without a contract next year. A lot of guys going past him. It's a big week for him. And to ensure that, he stays in contention to make the cup side, let alone, fighting for his future. Jesse Lanyon, he was amazing in the back end of our flag season last year when he moved to a 13. He's undersized, but there's a lot of heart there and a lot of go about him. But the one that I want to talk about, Siatame Havea Jr. did his first preseason with the Tigers this year. I'm pretty sure he ended up on the Army camp. He's small in stature, but he makes up for it in heart and intelligence. He plays like a 5'8" in a lock spot in the middle corridor. He's not at a lock spot yet. He still needs another growth spurt, and I think it's coming. His leadership qualities are off the dial. I think he's a future captain of this club, and I'm really excited to see how he goes. But I am preaching patience with Siatama. He's very small. I'm talking like Heath Mason size. So we will see. But I think, Mac, for me, I think we've pretty much covered every single one of the blokes that we wanted to. Will Craig, honourable mention, the top 30 man himself. But talking about the
Can I just quickly elaborate on one thing?
Go.
So you mentioned Lachlan Broadalow. Last week, Lachlan Broadalow played in that trial, and he was really good in the middle. Like that was the best I've seen him play. So you mentioned it's a big week for him, and he's been jumped by people and what have you. But like, I just want to call him out because I want people to watch him. There's something in him that is there's a good player there. And the problem with him has been consistency, very up and down throughout his like junior career. Like, and also had an injury that kept him out for a whole year a couple of seasons ago. But just keep an eye on him.
Well, there you have it. All right. I just want to talk about the Chooks really quickly. So they're fullback and halfback. They're going to be fucking waxing lyrical about those boys. And in a lot of ways, I understand why. Rex Bassingthwaite is regarded as James Tedesco's successor. He's 18 years old. I'm really curious to see how he goes in this game, and I hope that it isn't a debut to remember for him, respectfully, Rex. But he's a very, very talented individual. Toby Rodwell is regarded as Sam Walker's future halves partner at the scrum base. I love Hugo Savala. I think he's a phenomenal player, but I think he'll end up in the middle. Toby is a very, very good halfback. He does all the fundamental stuff well, but he can also create points. but this is a really, really experienced Roosters side. They've got over 500 first-grade games. We've barely got 150. A lot of ex-Tigers in that back line, Junior Tupou, Junior Pauga, Tommy Talau. Tom Rodwell, who debuted against us last year, he's there as well. Savala, who I spoke about, Rodwell, who I spoke about as well. They're going to be able to ping the ball everywhere across the field, so it's going to be a long night for Heath. But the forward pack, it is a massive test for our forward pack because listen to these names. Egan Butcher, Benaya Uelu, who was wonderful for them last year. Taylor Lazalu, the part-time concreter who's now got a full-time deal. He is a mountain. Fiketti, who is a weapon. Nat Butcher is Nat Butcher. He's got how many first-grade games to his name? 150 plus. And Siwa Wong. Mate, from my perspective, and you called it the Pathways Grand Final, I'm going to put my cards on the table and say I expect that at halftime will be up shit creek. And there's no need to panic because of the names that I've just called out, right? All of these guys, the vast majority of these guys for the Roosters have first-grade experience. If our boys are within 2 tries, genuinely, I will be fucking happy. Like, genuinely, that is how good this Roosters side is. The second half's always a wild goose chase, but genuinely, if these boys are within earshot at halftime, I'm happy. Are you the same?
Yeah, I mean, that's the safe assumption, isn't it? Like, it is, you're 100% bang on. Like, they've got first graders in almost every position in the 17. Like, when I say first graders, I mean first grader players with first grade experience, the top 13 at the very least. Yeah, I mean, it's not a genuine match. I mean, that's the most important thing to remember, you know. So it's not like the scoreboard should not really be too much of a consideration. In a lot of respects, it's going to be good to see, you know, which of our players can continue to perform under the pressure of, you know, of this, even if the side's going backwards. Like, you know, if somebody like Phoenix continues to stand up and take the hard runs when everybody's backs are against the wall and other boys are putting their, you know, putting their cue in the rack, that, you know, that's the sort of stuff the coaches are going to be looking for from this performance. But at the same time, I don't really expect the Roosters to keep these like top liners on the field for very long. And footy's a funny game. Like, even when it's like, you know, a mismatch like this, if like the main forwards for the Roosters are only on the park for the first 20 minutes, like, you know, if we jag a try or like, you know, get a couple of 6 agains and like we can just like hold them out for 10, 15 minutes, you know, it's 0-0 after 15 minutes, you know, then there might actually, you might see like an ironic sort of genuine contest emerge once, like, you know, the development players are all playing against each other. That tends to happen in these trials, especially when you look at like what we mentioned. Some of these young guys for us are really like, there's opportunities to stake their claim, not just for New South Wales Cup jerseys, but for NRL jerseys. So, yeah, I'm not optimistic, hopeful.
Yeah, that's a good word. Some guys to look at. Attila Seve, he's gone over to the Chooks from the Dogs. Very similar to Christian Taupo-Moores in terms of he's their alpha in SG ball. I'm expecting fireworks when those two get put on the field together. Della Solva'a, he's been around their system for a little while. He's 200 centimetres and 121 kilos, and I reckon they might even be doctoring those numbers. He might be heavier than that. He'll be one to watch, and it'll be really interesting to see how a lot of our forwards who are considerably smaller deal with him. Lachlan Dooner, who is he's a former West junior, played for Camden Rams. He's played centre in the halves. I think he's going to play in the back row. He's probably the only one that I really know beyond that for the Chooks. But yeah, it's going to be really interesting. And this is always a good little barometer. I don't mind when we play these teams that are apparently, you know, pathways gods. Look, we tend to really push our guys up because we're a little bit of a smaller club or a bit more of a struggling club, you know, and that's why guys like Makasini and so forth don't play SG ball. I'm really, really curious to see how this goes against the Chooks. Again, I'm not expecting anything, but I'm hopeful that, you know, all the noise that we've heard out of preseason, all the cliches that we've heard out of preseason actually, you know, show some promise. Again, you know, you're not expecting, just show us something.
Look, the thing I like the most is how many of these players are in our draft picks from last year. Like, what we've got, the Tautua, Logan Brooks, Phoenix Godney, Christian Taupo-Moores, uh, that's cool, man. Like this is why we did that. You know what I mean? Like to see these guys like push forward, and they are.
You're right,
And
man.
it's that's awesome. Like, and to be honest, like even outside of that, like other players that we've specifically on this podcast like honed in on that came out of nowhere. Like we talked about Luke Jack a few times last year. You've had reps on Iverson Matai. Iverson Matai, he's interesting, because he's been around the club now for like 4 years.
Yep.
And I remember like really at first when he was super young, like he was playing New South Wales Cup. And like it's not, I don't think I've ever like seen a game where I particularly thought to myself he was unimpressive. Like he's always been impressive, but he just hasn't been able to get over the hurdle and start to really like, compete with the big boys for minutes or for like even really like frequent New South Wales Cup minutes. But he's a classy player. Like last week in that trial game, he was really effective. Like, and he always is. And he's a smart player too. Like Iverson Matai reminds me of the sort of player who, you end up seeing go to another club and then ends up debuting in the halves at another club at like 23, 24, and suddenly he's like actually a particularly good first grader. The type I'm talking about, like that bloody bloke at Manly just signed from Canberra. He's a bit like that. Jerome Hughes was a bit like that. Like I definitely think there's a player there, and I'm very excited that Jose C. Lanyon
Yeah.
has progressed the way he has, because it was about 5 minutes worth of watching Jose C. Lanyon before we started like pointing him out, and Logan Brooks too. So no, it's awesome validation for the podcast's whole point of existence.
With you there, my brother. Do you want to talk about this State Cup trial, or I feel like I'm giving bits and pieces, but I'm happy to jump straight into Harry Matson SG Ball if you don't. It's up to you.
Well, the only thing I'd probably want to point out from the State Cup trial, aside from I did mention it a little bit. Javon Andrews, my God, he is big. Like watching him, I couldn't tell it was him. Like, so firstly, it was really difficult because they were wearing the weirdest numbers ever. Like nobody was wearing the jersey that was indicative of the position that they were playing. But and there was also Javon Andrews, Iverson Matai, and another half on the field at the same time. And one of the halves was not playing in the halves. And so at first I assumed that who I was looking at in Javon Andrews was literally a prop. Like that was my assumption when I was watching him. I was like, who's this big prop? I've never seen him before. And the first couple of carries he took hit ups. And not just hit ups, like he pulling through tackles.
Holy shit.
He's listed as 98 kilos, 6'3". I add 5 kilos. No word of a lie. He is a big kid, and he's still young, so he's gonna fill out, man. I know we talked last year about Lachlan Galvin, like really early on in the season. Like I was talking about him as potentially a new prototype for halves, likening it to when the NFL started like picking 6'5" quarterbacks and stuff like that. Javon Andrews is another one. And Javon Andrews is bigger than Galvin. And he's gonna be bigger than Dewey. He's gonna be, when all things are said and done, he'll be 6'4", 110 kilos, mate. It's a little bit more like Schuster.
Yeah.
Except he's not dumpy. He's actually lithe. He doesn't look. He looks like he looks like Samuel Afinu on the field when you're watching it. So keep an eye on that. Like he's a big kid, and that does give him, it gives him flexibility as he finds his feet in first grade. But he can find himself in any number of roles. Like that size is always effective on a wing. He has played in the outside backs before as a goal kicker. Like he's going to find extra opportunities where they're going to try to find spots for him if he's in or around about the 17, and we start talking about how do we get him in the side. Good player. I like this signing, and I like the origin story. I always really like it when like somebody's like like they have that reason, they have that why, they have that like I'm grateful for this, because I went through a period of time in my life where I didn't think this was going to happen. Right, I thought I'd lost this, and now I've got it. I'm never letting it go. I like that. It always seems to find a bit of fire in the belly. So Yeah, but yeah, massive kid. Like, was actually astonishing.
Yeah, him, Phoenix, and Jack Hardart are my big watchers for the weekend. They're the ones that I'm really keen to see and really interested in. So, yeah, well, it sounds like they were pretty promising. So, fingers crossed they carry that form and take it up another level against, once again, a very, very experienced side. All right, Harold Matts. Okay, so in both plays we lost, which was pretty disappointing, particularly for
You
West.
lost.
Particularly for West. Completions killed them in the heat. It was actually the same for Balmain and Harold Matts as well. They were in a position of strength there with the lead, and they just sort of fell away. I thought Jackson Speechley, the hooker, looked pretty lively and deserved his try, but there were some issues on that right edge defensively. And as you can see, Monson Hopewadi, who we actually previewed Harold Matts' seasons last week, we're very, very high on Hopewadi. He's moving to the wing this week. That's CUC, who I actually think is a Balmain junior, would you believe it? Gave us nightmares. They seem to be struggling with second phase and quick play the balls, but it might be the heat, might be a match fitness thing. We'll see more this week. The one positive, Isaac Osdale, I thought was really, really good. I call him the chosen one because I think he's exceptional. And Kingston Finau, who has found a home at left centre after sort of jumping around the place last year. I thought he did some really, really good things with balling, particularly setting up that try for his outside man. Have you got anything else to say there in regards to that Maggie's game?
The only thing I'll say is, like, Monson Hopewadi didn't really get much ball, and when he finally did get some ball, he was pretty damn impressive.
Yeah,
I
he's
actually
amazing.
think when you're like this, remember when Marcy was in the centers and Harold Matthews, and like he really struggled to like put himself into the game a lot. I think it's like kind of a symptom of Harold Matt's level of play. Like the halves, they just don't really know how to like use their weapons quite yet. It's not really unless there's absolute weapons. Marcy was a threat when on a Tony Large and Alex Isdale were his halves and stuff like that. But I think that moving Monson to the wing is probably going to be a good thing for him, because as a winger, he's going to get forced into the game a lot more off kick returns and stuff like that. So I like it. While it's probably, he probably is long term a center, if somebody's a really good center, then you want to keep him in the centers, because the center is a more valuable player in Earl than a winger. Well, that's arguable these days, but my Monson Hopewadi. John Hopewadi was a winger. Oh, yeah, there we go. He was.
Thankfully,
I think.
Thankfully, it's Albert's son, so I think we'll actually keep him. So otherwise, he'd be going elsewhere because John's got some issues with. Now Shane Richardson is gone. We might not have any problems at all, but it'll be a tough match against Newcastle. They're always a good team, but good luck to the boys. Balmain,
quickly.
Yeah, go.
Just quickly. I think that the Parramatta Harold Matthews team are very, very good. So I kind of take some positives out of the fact that it was close. So I wouldn't be surprised if this Magpies Harold Matthews team's not a good team yet. Just, jury's still out there.
Put into the year, my prediction was that they'd finish around 5th, 6th, 7th. I'm going to stand by that. I think that they'll be okay. I've got pretty big raps on Tarawi Golding Lions. We dragged him over from South a couple of years ago, and he was really good for us in Andrew Johns Cup last year. I'm counting on him to have a big week and really stand up and take the game by the horns this week against the Knights. Balmain, the scoreline, I don't think it was a true reflection. I think it sort of blew out late, and Central Coast got a couple of tries against the run of play and some really nice touches. So it must be said, I think their halves on both edges were, super skillful. But errors just killed them again in the heat, and that's what happens when you play junior F's footy in February. But Tommy O'Yan, holy fuck, so good. Just some beautiful touches. He could have let it sing for his second try, but he was strong enough to get there. But he was so good. I'm really high. I'm just trying to find his name. I'm really high on the halfback. His name is Marcus Cesaro, which is a fucking phenomenal name. He sounds like a Roman war general. He squares up at the line so well. Nice and deep, very square, very straight, does it at speed. And as a result, he created a lot of opportunities for Tommy out the back, which I thought was awesome. I think there's something to work with there with that Harold Matthews side, and they've been quietly confident about this little team. And with Valtungi there moving across, I think they've got something there, Balmain and Harold Nuts. They'll be disappointed with this, but after a bye and a chance to reset, I think they might be okay. What did you see?
Well, I didn't watch the game, unfortunately. That one, that's one that I did miss. But I hope you're right, because historically, for quite a few years running now, the Balmain Harold Matthews side have been not not the best. So I hope
Well,
they do get a few wins on the board this week. I'm excited to. I have seen Thomas Arroyon play before. He is good. So
right.
I'm happy to see that he performed well.
He was excellent. We obviously spoke about a Balmain loss, but let's talk about a Balmain win. If West SG Ball wanted to give you an exercise in how not to start a season, Balmain showed you how to start a season. It was like last year. I don't know what it is, but it's lightning in the bottle at the beginning of the year. Shane Sultana tapped into it last year, and Roy Asatas, he's done it again. They were hitting gaps at speed and with urgency on both sides of the ball. It was fucking awesome to watch. Blake Van Dree, his first 20 minutes, far out. It sums up everything that he is as a player. He finally now has the frame, because he's had a growth spurt. He's built out a little bit. He's finally got the frame to match his effort. That short ball that he threw was just, I think it was Isaac Perkins' try on debut in SG Ball.
Yep.
First try scorer. That's fucking amazing. That was so good. The try where he went himself, never say die, Blake, and he scored under the post was unreal. And getting both front rows on the score sheets. Zane Farmer-Kay as well. Wow, chef's kiss. I really like this halves pairing. We actually spoke about it
Yeah,
last
man.
week. In this Phantom episode, I was worried that Christian and Alex are too similar, that ultimately we're going to have, two sevens realistically. They're going to be overcalling each other. Who's the organising guy? Who's the good ball touchers? But they worked really nicely, and they've only been together for a couple of weeks. Alex's kicking game still holds up. He put the ball in the sky for Huahulu to score, which was unreal. The short ball that he threw on the right side to his name escapes me, that right centre out of Stormer. And then Christian Azzi, when he threw that short ball to Bustani and then kicked the ball in field to Vaha Akalolo for feeder, was best try of the week across the Tigers' pathways. I haven't seen the Laurie Daly Cup, and they won by 50 points, so I'm sure there's a good try in there, but that was unreal. Vival, his name was, he was good too. Look, they were excellent, Valma. Like, considering that, Bronson Harrison a couple of weeks before the season starts came out and said, maybe, I don't know, but, we put our reserves on, it wasn't great. Like, he kind of painted a picture of, it's going to be pretty bleak here, but look, I know it's the sunny coast, but that was really fucking good.
Are the Central Coast not the Roosters SG Ball team?
No, there's a Roosters and a Central Coast Roosters. They're like us and the Dragons. They've got two sides in the comp.
Okay. Yeah, all right. Well, then I'll temper it a little bit, but yeah, it was super impressive, which, it shouldn't come as too much of a surprise because there's a lot of experienced at this level players in this team, and there's a lot of names that have featured throughout the grades, and a couple of particularly good West Harold Matthews players here. Ali Hitcham-Carnib on the wing too, and he's been a fullback predominantly. Caden Canan was really, really impressive. Good to see the Canan bloodline still strong after Cameron's exit. It was I was really impressed with Azzy. I think Azzy's also a year young too.
What about him, bro?
So yeah, there is, isn't there? He's and the way he plays, he has a very commanding presence on the field. Like you can kind of always tell where he is, and he's very vocal and very expressive on the field, and very intentful when he goes about his business. He doesn't seem like he's ever in two minds. He's a good player. I really love this forward pack, man. I think that Blake Van Dree is such So another one where, like, we talked about him so quickly last year. I think we even mentioned him, like, when we're talking to Shannon Gallant, like, about like him having been brought across from the Harold Matt's side that doesn't have an NRL affiliation. Like, this kid kind of came out of nowhere, and if you're following along with the news cycle of the pathways, he's been signed to a long-term West Tigers deal. Like, he's actually come along with leaps and bounds as a captain of the team, and man, he's just, it's just, the word that comes to mind is just quality. There's just quality about what he does, that mixing brilliance with just constant, consistent effort. Really, really impressive. I thought that both Palmer Vivau and Fafita were like super threatening. Never heard of either of them. Both very, very impressive. And we've got a new entrant. I'll just bring up, we got a new entrant into the hall of great rugby league names with that player on the bench, Clayton Magoon. Clayton Magoon. I hope that you one day become an NRL player, because your name alone will make you a cult sensation. Clayton Magoon.
Especially with the new breed, Magoon.
Imagine like the chants, Magoon. Also, I gotta shout out Felipe Huahulu, man. Like, he had a great game. You called it, that try. Like, you got under the high ball and came down and scored. That was impressive stuff. Like, it's just another Tino Tavana in the making, Felipe. And I know he's a big time social media follower of our stuff. He's always getting in there. I remember last year when I was when we were talking big about Mark Tannis, I remember Felipe got stuck into him and like giving him some stick for getting shout-outs. So no, Felipe is cool. I'm really I'm really looking forward to watching this Balmain SG Ball side. I think they are the team to watch of the lower grades based on that performance.
We'll see. A team that did not leave a lasting impression was West SG Ball. Now, I want to preface this conversation again by saying that Parramatta are the standout this year, with Bambler, who is going to be a superstar. Lincoln Fletcher, who I think could potentially play for New South Wales in about 10 years. Ryder Talangi's there. I thought Jackson Coyner had a good game as well. There's a very, very good side there, and they made us pay in the heat again. They just steamrolled us. And Cameron Bamblett, he is phenomenal. I really got to say it. Look, I hope that Moores would take it to Talangi pre-game. Didn't really happen. Phoenix was quiet, but he didn't look uncomfortable. I think he was okay. Havea the same. Curtis Lakeman tried hard. Javon Lele dropped his head there at one point, and that is a worry that ultimately it took him a little while to get back into the game when you sort of need him to have that amnesia. That hurt us. I don't have much else to say, to be honest with you. As much as I love a lot of these boys, I expect a bloodbath against Newcastle. It's not good at the moment, and I don't see it getting better without Godney, Havea, and Moores this week.
Yeah, that's probably the unfortunate truth, isn't it? Like, the quality has been ripped out of this side because of the trial match, and I don't think that. I'd be surprised if they see much of Phoenix Goldeneye for the rest of the season, to be honest. Like, when Flag comes around and when New South Wales Cup comes around. I think that, look, last year was a very similar story, wasn't it? Like, they were a frustrated side from round one, and Balmain were like hit the ground running. So it's weird how it's sort of all shapes up to be relatively similar, but it is a side that's full of talent. So all it'll take is 1 week for them to click, and then they'll find their confidence and their groove. Javon Lele, he's a player that thrives on confidence. But he needs the team around him to be performing for him to be performing.
But the knock on I've had on Javon, and well, he's played football at a much higher level than I have, and I would be absolutely diabolical. So I mean this with respect. He just seems to premeditate things a little bit, and I think that hurts him. I'm not, yeah, and I think that might have been why he's been moved to the bench. That it's almost like, no, you need to come on and you need to create points, and you're going to come on at a time when we need you. It's look, they shuffled their pack. Luke Taberti, who we would have spoken about last week, he's from Milpera. He's an Australian touch football representative. He will move from fullback to 5'8", so they must be looking for spark there. It's sort of first or second receiver. Cortez Kirkpatrick, his old man was a former Super Rugby player. He was playing 14 last week. He's gone to fullback. Tincomer Party will replace Phoenix. Futialo, who we picked up from the Dragons, he'll start this week, as will Lorimer Cosgrave. I'm not really sure about that. I love Lorimer, but he's very small. Tale Fainga moves to lock. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. And obviously, Bickoff and Gaffney have both been promoted from Laurie Daly Cup for the way that they've started the year. So we'll see. But yeah, look, I worry for this side next week. This week. I don't think that's going to go particularly well.
We'll see. I rate Jake Gaffney. I'm curious to see how he performs. I think I was surprised he wasn't in the side for round one. Because he had such a great season last year. So yeah, we'll see.
They must be looking for responses from these 18-year-olds that have been put down LD to sort of see them come up. And one of them is James Lanyon. I really do expect him to come back into that side pretty quickly. Laurie Daly and Andrew Johns Cup. I thought Andrew Johns Cup, they won, but it was a little bit too close for comfort there at the end. I like the front rower. He's the number 8, Denham Sigalis. Looks quite athletic. I like the look of him. Scored a good try. But I think there's something to work with there. Laurie Daly Cup, they beat Riverina with a 52-0 win. Again, I didn't see the highlights for this one, I'm sorry, but 5 tries and 4 goals for Drake Ayres, which is that'd be near a point scoring record in a game in that competition. The girls, they won in Tasha Gale, they lost in Lisa Fiaola. Both sides play Parramatta and Newey this week. Good luck to all our Pathways teams. We will be watching on very closely. Just because the NRL is sort of back doesn't mean that we aren't watching. Good luck to all those teams, and I hope there's a few surprises there. Now, finally, the draft. Like we did last year, and like you've been mentioning a little bit, we picked 5 players each. They run me through the rules. SG ball age, 19, I think. Typically, it's obviously the year youngs are eligible for 2 years, and we keep tabs on the boys as best as we can. Some of the names that featured last year, as you mentioned, Logan Brooks, the Tautua twins, Christian Torpau Morse, Phoenix Godinay, these sorts of guys. But there are also some guys like Cal McManamy that we picked, and that didn't go too well. So
Cal McManamy was the first one from our draft pick that got an international cap.
This is true. But he is now also at Parramatta, so it's an interesting one.
And Cameron Canards at Penrith, so that's part of the fun, but you know what I mean? They're not like, there's no way, year in, year out, like, if we do this for 4 straight years, we've got 20 players each. They're not all going to play for the Tigers, but hopefully as many of them as humanly possible play in the NRL. That's the game we're looking at.
That is the game we're looking at. Mate, you gave me first pick last year, so I'm going to give you first pick. We actually did it on Discord last year. This time I'm going to do it live. You know what? I will actually relinquish it to you. I think I know who you're going to pick.
Yeah. Look, I was going to say, like, there's guys like Christian Tapper-Moores and Phoenix Godinay and such that are still at SG ball age. But we already picked those guys.
Yeah, let's just make sure
we're
19 this time around.
I was going to also say we probably should avoid picking anybody who's already made flag debut. I'd say it's probably not a bad shout.
Yeah, I agree with you to that.
Yeah,
that removes Peter Tye, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, if you want to pick Peter Tye, yeah, you would think that. Yeah. Okay. All right. I will take. Will I? I'm thinking about taking Blake Vandry. Just let me have a quick squiz here. if there's not somebody who I would regret. I'll take Blake. Blake Vandry, number one pick. Last year, my number one pick was Logan Brooks from Balmain. This year, it's Blake Vandry from Balmain.
Give us a rundown on why.
Well,
you
we
picked-
talked about him just a minute ago, but I guess for the benefit of clips, my number one pick, Blake Vandry, came across in the offseason of last year from the North Sydney Bears. He is a 13. He is a pretty traditional 13. He's not the biggest guy. Although he's bigger now than he was, as you mentioned before. But he is very skillful with the ball. He is just an absolute terrier. Like he is the guy that will fight tooth and nail to the end of the game, regardless of what's going on around him. His quality doesn't drop off when the rest of the team's quality drops off. If anything, it picks up. And he is the captain of the SG ball side this year. And from all reports, just a really mature, hardworking guy. And he has a long-term contract with the West Tigers. So I suspect that, he will be being talked about by us for at least the next few years too.
I like it, mate. Congratulations on your first pick, and congratulations to Blake. Everybody remember last year that has been playing along at home for some time at West Tigers Faithful HQ that I picked 5 West players. That didn't go well for me. I need to diversify this year, and I'm going to do that with my first pick. His name is Alex Isdale. He has returned to the West Tigers system. He was not named in the final SG ball squad for Cronulla for a couple of weeks. Everybody was wondering where on earth he was. He popped up at 5'8" next to Christian Azzi. Unfortunately, he has lost 12 months worth of development, but there is absolutely a player there that I think has at least a good chance of making his flag debut next year, particularly when Mark Tannus has left the club. Alex, his skill lies in his organisational work. I think he's got a wonderful aerial kicking game and can really hang it up in the air for his outside backs. His communication is wonderful. He's as strong as an ox. He doesn't shirk his defensive workload. I think there's a lot to work with there, and not just as a 7. I think that there is upside for him as a 9 or even potentially a 13 as time goes on, depending on how he feels out. And I'm very, very happy to have him back because I've watched him up close a few times and I'm a big fan. So with my first pick, Alex Isdale.
Awesome. I think Alex Isdale's got good prospects for sure. Only question mark is why he wasn't able to really push through for too many minutes last year when he had his detour to Cronulla. By the way, deviating off of your Magpies love. That's a that's a sneaky one for you there. I'm gonna jump over to the Magpies and take Curtis Lakeman.
Cool,
I think Curtis Lakeman is probably it'd be. I know I just mentioned Christian Azzi. I think Curtis and Christian are both a year young. But I think Curtis Lakeman is ahead of Christian Azzi by quite a considerable margin in terms of the pecking order. And I also just, from what I saw of Curtis Lakeman last year, he's just got all the tools for a 7. He's a very traditional 7. He's not like Javon Andrews style half where you can't you can see him eventually being 2. No, he's a 7. And he's got a good kicking game, got a very good passing game, very good pass selection, steers his team around well. I just think he's just a really solid prospect at 7, and halves don't grow on trees. So Curtis Lakeman, number 2 for me.
Love it. For myself, I'm going to go back to the well at Balmain, but this time he's an actual Balmain player, and that is Zane Farmer-Kay. I'm going to go with Zane for a couple of reasons. I thought last year Blake Vandry was the middle forward that we spoke about pretty often, and he was coming off the bench, but I thought that Zane, a year young last year, did a lot of really good things. Very, very good with his line speed, contact, and wrestle in defence. I thought that he did all those things very well, but he is an old school prop in the way that he comes off the back fence. He's a bit bigger than a Nathan Brown, but his running style quite upright and at speed. Reminds me of him a little bit, the former Balmain junior himself. I had to buy the stock after seeing the big man cross the line last week, but I'm really, really high on him. I think that away from Torpau Moores, who is probably the standout 19-year-old middle forward that we have, I think Zane is quietly putting together a pretty nice portfolio, and I think that there's a player there. Now, front rowers take time, and I've got no doubt that Zane might take the slow route as well. But I think he's one to watch, and I think that he's definitely got potential to at the very least play open age football for us in New South Wales Cup.
That's a really good pick. I rate Zane. He's got a lot of fire. He's he's a sort of forward that's gonna not back down from anybody, and sometimes it gets him into mischief on the field too. But and I know he's also around the I've seen him snooping around the socials, so hopefully that puts some wind in your sails, Zane. You've got number 2 pick from Reedy. I'm a little bit torn on my number 3 pick, but so that we don't drag it on forever, I'm probably gonna take. I'll take the other guy I mentioned. I'll take Azzy. I'm gonna take the other Azzy. I'm gonna take both 7s.
18-year-old
I'm gonna take
too.
Christian Azzy. I'm gonna hedge. I'm gonna hedge my bets here. Because if I've got both the 7s, eventually one of them will beat out the other for the development kingpin of the SG ball sides. And I'm thinking long term here. I'm thinking, to be able to talk about this in a couple of years' time. And his first round performance was fantastic. I'll be keeping a close eye on him for the rest of the season. As I mentioned before, what I really liked about what I saw in the first week was just his presence on the field. He had a commanding presence on the field. He leads the team around really, really well. And I think Curtis Lakeman and him, similarly to what I said about Curtis Lakeman, he also is very much a traditional 7, a field general type 7. And so I'll take Azzy.
Very nice, mate, and I don't blame you at all. Okay, for me, I'm going to take one out of left field. I'm going to go back to the well for a middle forward, but this one I think might be a bit of a curveball. It is Xavier's brother, Cruz Taue Fainga. Now, obviously, Cruz was part of a well-beaten West Magpie side against Parramatta on the weekend, but I really, really like this guy, and I'm going to list the reasons why now. He won the Mal Meninga Cup a year young with Burleigh. He won the National Schoolboy Championship with Cooper Park. He won a Coach's Award a year young with Burleigh. And I've seen his brother play, and his brother's pretty fucking good. Cruz can play a little bit of everything, can play a bit of prop, play a bit of lock, play a bit of back row. I think he's best suited in the middle, and I think playing 13 this week against the Newcastle Knights will really suit him. This is a guy that I think that has tremendous upside, and he's been signed on a futures contract for that reason. There's 3 years there, which I assume will include 2 years of flag. So I think there's a fair chance that he's absolutely going to progress. How highly, I'm not too sure, but I really like the look of him from what I've seen on tape, mainly up in Queensland. And I think that he's a guy that, in the absence of particularly Moores and possibly Godinay, I think Havea will play a lot of SG ball this year. But I've got high hopes for Cruz, and I think he's going to do well.
Where is Xavier?
He will be playing Jersey Fleet.
I'm surprised he didn't play. Did he play in Cup trial last week? I don't think he did.
Not to my knowledge.
Maybe he's got.
I think he's still probably a growth spurt.
Maybe he was. Yeah, maybe you're right. I'm gonna take William Stone next.
Oh, you bastard!
I think William Stone is Tony Sukkar vibe. You know what I mean? Like I could totally see William Stone if he has a real solid season. Him and Blake Van Der the standouts in the Balmain forward pack. I could see him getting a long-term deal at the end of this year and being a similar story where, suddenly he's getting into the development sides and they're working on him a little bit more. And because he's got a lot of traits that look like a first grader. He scores tries, he runs good lines, he's tough, he does the hard work and the flashy stuff, and he's workmanlike. William Stone, you're my number 4 pick, bruh.
I'm up. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take a massive, massive risk and put my balls on the line. But I think this is a real rocks and diamonds pick. It's the man with the name so nice they gave it to him twice. He's the man that is the apple of the eye of liquor and gaming Australia. He's a man built for the gaming floor and the smoking areas of pubs. His name is Glassy. Um, Pure, unadulterated game-breaking ability does Glassy possess. The biggest thing for Glassy, from my perspective, is defensive work. If he can tie that up and he can fix it, he has everything else. Magical things happen around him in a similar way to one Tino Tavana, who we've spoken about earlier in the night. I'm a really, really big fan of Glassy, and I really hope he can put it together. Again, I'm buying the dip a little bit based off what we saw last week against Parramatta, but it's make or break. And I'm backing him with a draft pick. And if he doesn't make it in rugby league, I reckon he could probably make it in rugby union. There is talent in droves for this kid. It's just putting it together. And with my draft pick, I'm backing him.
No, that's a pretty good pick. I don't mind it. Glassy's got pedigree. Hey, like there's a sort of a vibe that if you can just find something that he's got a little more behind that something. I'm kind of torn between two players here. I got to try to. So I'm torn between two players. One is Caden Canaan, and I kind of want to pick Caden Canaan because I picked Cameron Canaan, and I want to be back in the whole family. I want the whole family in my crew, and he's real good. Caden Canaan's real solid. He's a little bit more like I guess like not as much of a standout as Cameron. Like Cameron's bigger, a little bit more flashy than what Caden seems to be, but Caden seems a little quicker, a little bit more like rugged. You know, the younger brother playing the same position kind of vibe. But I also want to pick James Lanyon.
You can't pick James because he's 18.
I thought you could. No, you could pick 18. I picked an 18-year-old before. It's like anybody under SG ball age.
Oh, okay. If we're allowing that, then you can have him.
Were you gonna pick him?
Well, no, it's all right. Go on. You pick whoever you want.
I'll pick Caden. I'll pick Caden because I want the Canaan.
For the record, I don't have James Lanyon on my list. You can have him. I'm looking elsewhere.
Oh, that's all right. I want Caden Canaan anyway. And aside from for the reasons I just said, if he's holding Ali Hikam out of the number 1 jersey, he must be doing some pretty good things around the training paddock, just quietly. So I'm taking Caden Canaan with my 5 pick, just like I took Cameron last year. And if there's another Canaan, you're up next year, buddy.
See, it's Arme Havea Jr. If I had gotten my ducks in a row earlier, I would have picked him first. Yeah, I think he'll play for New South Wales. I think he's that good. I think he's a future captain of the club. I don't have much more to say than that. I hope that he has a really good game and lets his abilities do the talking on Saturday night. But I am also preaching patience. He's still got a growth spurt in him. I don't even think he's 18 yet. I think he's probably 17. So still a ways to go. But ball playing ability, he hits like a truck. He has an uncanny knack of stripping the ball. It's like Josh Hodgson through sort of 2019 style. Yeah, no, he's my guy. I love watching.
That's fair enough. Like you should have him. You had Phoenix. Siatame's the next Phoenix in terms of the pedigree in the club, and that's fine. If you want, we can cut this and go back and do it again. If you want, because we're not live, Reedy. So
more than happy with it. Just to recap, your 5 picks are Blake Van Dree, captain of Balmain SG Ball, Curtis Lakeman, halfback for West, Christian Azzi, halfback for Balmain, William Stone, left edge, back rower for Balmain. You liken him to Tony Sulgar, and finally Caden Canaan, the fullback who has kept out Ali Carnard from that number 1 jersey over at Balmain. My 5 picks: Alex Isdale, the current 5'8" for Balmain, former Harold Matthews captain for West. Zane Farmer-Kay, the middle forward there. Blake Van Dree's partner in crime at Balmain. Cruz, Talway, Flehinger, who is playing in the middle for West SG, ball brother Azovia. Glassy, the outside centre, right-hand carry for West SG ball, and formerly Laurie Daly Cup. And finally, Siatame Havea Jr., who will lock the scrum, I think, for West Tigers in about 2028 on a regular basis. Mate, it has been a mammoth episode. I reckon that's about it. You got much more to say?
Nah, can't wait to watch this game this weekend. It's going to be super fun. It's good to be back. Let's hope that the Tigers' troubles stay away for at least until the off season.
Fingers crossed, my friend. All right, speak with you soon. All the best.